The Canadian Senate is flying across the country to do consultations and hold hearings over Bill C-69. That's the bill that critics are calling the No More Pipelines bill. It's a bill that would amend existing legislation to remove the powers of the National Energy Board and replace it with a two-faced organization that is largely hell-bent on making sure that the oil sands can never produce another barrel of oil. The senators were in Calgary today, where they were met by a large group of protesters. My guess is over 600, just under 1,000 Calgarians showed up to protest the bill. Alberta Conservative Senator Doug Black came out of the hotel where the meetings were being held to greet the protesters, to talk with them individually, one-on-one, shaking dozens of hands. So did Nova Scotia Senator Mike MacDonald. He came out and met with Jason Kenney, who briefly pulled in to speak to the crowd. Paula Simons, though, Alberta's Trudeau-appointed senator, wasn't able to make it out the doors of the hotel. Here's my conversation with her.
What are you understanding here from the industry?
Well, the industry representatives we've met with today, I've met with many of them before. They have worked together really well to come up with a suite of amendments that I think are pretty sensible. CAP, CEPA, a lot of the big industry players have worked with the Indian Resource Council to come up with amendments that I think are pretty pragmatic. So today, because I've met with almost every witness that we heard today already, or every witness group, I didn't hear anything that was new to me.
You spent tens of thousands of dollars to travel around Canada, and you say you haven't learned anything from this committee meeting. Do you think that it's worthwhile? Okay, understandable.
We're halfway through the second day. I think we're.
Do you think that it's worthwhile to go talk to the people outside, though, like your colleague Doug Black?
I think it's really important that I be speaking to Albertans all the time, and I'm doing that on social media, I'm doing that in meetings. I understand what your question is about expense, and this is expensive. This is the first time in the history of the Canadian Senate, the first time that they've had hearings on bills outside of Ottawa. Now, as an Albertan, I think that's a remarkable precedent. I think it's really important that we get out of that Ottawa bubble and talk to people in other parts of the country so that people understand what the Senate does and why the Senate is still relevant in 2019. The expense is considerable, but you don't bake the cake without breaking the eggs. And so I'm hoping that the trip pays for itself if we come up with a bill that is better for the economy.
See, this is the problem with these academic liberals, the ones that think they're smarter than everyone else. They stay inside listening to hearings, listening to elites talk, but they don't have time for their own constituents. They don't have time to hear the voices of nearly 1,000 Calgarians gathered in downtown Calgary. Those Calgarians I had a chance to talk to, at least. Here's what they had to say about Paula Simons.
Do you trust our Alberta independent senator to represent Albertans fairly? She was appointed by Justin Trudeau, by the way.
I don't know her. I haven't even heard of her name, to be truthful. Can't comment.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, that speaks in and of itself that you have no idea who it is.
Exactly.
No.
Yeah, that's the kind of the common answer I'm getting.
The general consensus? No, absolutely not.
Alberta, Doug Black, one of Alberta's conservative senators, came out here to speak to protesters, but the Trudeau-appointed one is in that building right now, refusing to come out here.
Why isn't he here?
It's actually a woman. It's Paula Simons.
Why isn't she here?
It's 2019. We can have women senators.
We can. Bring her out.
I agree. Thank you.
There's a megaphone up there. Give her the megaphone. Come on, Paula. Get out here.
Do you trust Alberta's Justin Trudeau-appointed senator to stand up for Albertans?
I don't think that Alberta has been properly supported up until this point, and we need to get people working. We need to use our resources properly.
As the protest reached its climax, Jason Kenney pulled up in his big blue Dodge to speak to the gathered crowd about Bill C-69 and his plan to launch a constitutional challenge of the bill if it's passed and if he's elected. Here's what he said.
It means so much that hundreds of Albertans would show up in the middle of a workday downtown to send a message to the senators meeting inside here right now to say that we will no longer tolerate Justin Trudeau's attacks on this province, on this industry that has put us into a jobs crisis. 200,000 Albertans. Yeah. Nearly 200,000 Albertans are out of work. Last month, 12,000 Albertans gave up looking for work. Average family incomes are down by $6,400 a month. Our economy is 3% smaller than it was 4 years ago. Bankruptcies and insolvencies are up. Families have lost their homes. People have lost their hope. Small businesses are barely hanging on. And in response to all of this, what do we get? A bill that will be devastating to the future of the industry that has created so much wealth for Albertans and Canadians. That's why we need to kill Bill C-69.
It's not yet clear if Bill C-69 is going to be scrapped entirely, if it will be sent back to the House of Commons for amendments, or if it will be passed as is. I think if Paula Simons had her way, it wouldn't be scrapped entirely, because we know she's not on Alberta's team. She's on Justin Trudeau's team. For the Rebel.media, I'm Keean Bexte. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed our coverage. If you have any interest at all in the Alberta provincial election, we are going to be capping off our election coverage on April 16th with a live show. We're going to be doing that live election night coverage here on YouTube, so be sure to tune in when the polls close.